Continuing my journey along the Cornwall Pilgrimage to Morrinsdale, I'm now walking the Redruth and Chasewater Railway down to Poldice Valley. From here I'm hoping to head to the Roseland Peninsula. Continuing my journey to Roseland through the Carnan Valley, I've now joined the Portreath Tram Road, which is a mineral trail constructed in 1809 to serve the mining industry. It was actually horse drawn then, and it was used to transport ore and coal between Portreath and Devon Harbour. As you can see, it's a bit wet now, but in the distance we've got the old Carnan Viaduct there. It's a wonderful landmark. I'm just walking through a field on the way to Trellissick Gardens. Nice view of the church there. Quite a nice little village, thatched cottage there. Only about 2 miles now from the King Harry Ferry. Just passing Trellissick Garden now on the descent to King Harry Ferry. Now arriving at King Harry Ferry. See the ferry ahead and the River Fowl. Just passing by Malinsey Mill on the way into Verrion. A quick look back there at Port Low as we ascend on the coast path, which makes up the next section to Port Holland. Just arriving at Mevagissey on the coast path there. Still plenty of rain about, you can just see it's a bit hazy in the distance there. Once I descend into the town, I'm going to have to get something to eat, probably some fish and chips. And then I've got one more ascent to Pentuam where I'm hoping to camp tonight. At least I made it to Mevagissey.
And Cornish lads are miners too. But when the fish and tin are gone, what are the Cornish boys to do? We'll do as we have done before, go out and roam the wide world o'er, wherever sea or ships are found.
Continuing on the Cornwall Pilgrimage, I'm now crossing the coast between Mevagissey and Pentuam. You can just see the campsite below, and ahead there lies St Austell Bay. I'm going to be heading now towards Luxullian Valley and then onto the camel trail, hopefully complete the walk at Padstow. The second phase of today's journey is a little walk along the Pentuam River into St Austell. We've arrived at the beautiful Church of Luxullian, and just down the hill there is the Route 3 marker that takes you into Luxullian Valley. I've been on Route 3 for a while now, and as you can see it interacts with the Saints Way footpath. You'll also notice there's another Saints Way sign bearing up the hill there. Well, that is an off-road section for walkers wishing to visit Foy. It actually goes to Golant, and then from there you walk down into Foy. That's just for walkers only, not cyclists. If you want to cycle, you'll have to follow this version of the Saints Way, which interacts with Route 3. From here I'm going to take a trek up the hill. Another 2 miles will see me to Lanivet. Here we abandon Route 3 and take the Saints Way. You can just see the sign there. That's going to take us down that road into Lanivet. Here we don't actually need to use Route 3. Route 3 goes on to Bodmin. We're not actually going into Bodmin at all. We can see Lanivet Church just below. So we're going to walk down into Lanivet, then we're going to cross the road and find a byway to Nanstallen. That's the link route to the camel trail. Once we're on there, we're on our way to Padstow. Just passing through the village of Nanstallen. Looking back at the trail there, that's another off-road section that leads back to Nanstallen. So if you're a bit disappointed with the amount of cyclists using this track, you can always head back up there, turn left at the junction and carry on back to Nanstallen, and then from there you can go to Lanivet. But for me, it's onward to Weybridge. Look out, here come the cyclists. And there's the old railway station at Weybridge. Now just serving its last days out as an admin centre. This is me just leaving Dennis Farm campsite at Padstow. Now going to head into town, get some breakfast, jump on the ferry to Rock and head off to St Teith and Camelford. Now leaving the Camel Estuary behind as I make my way to St Minver. St Minver Church there in the distance, and we have St Piran's flag blowing in the breeze. I think it's appropriate that part of this Cornish pilgrimage is marked in St Piran's colours. We've arrived at the church in St Kew. Just down the road there is the St Kew Inn. That's where the masons who built this church stayed, and they were there for 10 years until the completion of the church, and in that time they brewed their own ale, the ale being a very important part of their diet. On leaving the village, the place where they stayed was then licensed as a pub, which is now known as the Kew Inn. Well, I've just arrived at St Teith. I'm afraid it's raining quite heavily. Just walking up the hill to Lanteglos. There's the footpath sign. Just away there to the right. A little bit further on, we've got the church. There's Bowood Park, hotel and golf course. On the way to Camelford. Right, we're just ascending Rowter Road, having left Camelford. Had a lovely pint of cider there at Joe's place, Mason's Arms, which has always been a good place to quench thirst. Back on Route 3 again, we have Cornwall using its natural resources. Well, the weather up here on Bodmin Moor is consistent. I can't say there's been that many times I've been up here when it hasn't rained. God, a bit blustery up on the moor. I think we need a bit of horsepower. Right, we're just coming up to the Pilgrim campsite, which is about half a mile from Alton itself. Nathania is the name of the campsite. I'm now going to descend into the village. Behold, St Nona Church of Alton, Cathedral of the Moor. What a special landmark that is. There's the little brook. What pleasure people must have here waking up to this sight. I'm not sure about waking up. I think I need to get some sleep. It's the time to try and beat dusk. Head up to 5 Lanes, see if I can camp at the King's tonight. So off we go again. Just leaving the King's Head in torrential rain. So head towards the A30. I'm going to cross underneath that and take one of the byways up to the next village. Well, there's Lewannick Church, little village of Lewannick. Beautiful church there, harbour there. And from here I've got to try and get to Launceston on the back roads. So that's going to take me another, I guess, 8 miles. Not doing very well today, got a hamstring injury incurred when I ran into a sleeper in the road heading back to the campsite the other night. It's very sore and it's also very wet today. You can see it's a bit wet today. I've reached the Kernard's House junction. I'm going to bear left and hopefully pick up the byway on the right to Tregadillet. Right, just left Tregadillet. I'm now at the New Mills junction, which is the leisure park and the terminus for the narrow gauge railway service which runs from Launceston. And Launceston from here is only about 2.5 miles, so I'm going to head up the byway and hopefully finish this section of the walk at the railway station. Right, I'm about to head into Launceston. I'm just going to go over the railway bridge and hopefully we'll catch a glimpse of the railway on the right hand side. Actually, there we can see the track. And there we have the Launceston Railway. And hence the arrival of the lovely Lillian. Next to the Launceston Railway is the St Thomas Parish Church and Priory Ruins. From here I'm going to head up the hill to St Stephen's, just passing St Stephen's Church. Passing through Yelm Bridge on the way to Langdon Cross. Well, I've arrived at the Countryman Inn. It's actually quite a nice sunny evening, so I'm going to conclude my day here and camp on site. There's North Pethwin sign. That starts my journey in the morning when I'm going to head down to Week St Mary. But for now, it's time for a pint of cider. So here's me Monday morning, setting off again from the Countryman Inn this time, and there's my route for today, starting from the turn off at the Otter Sanctuary. From there I'm going to go to Week St Mary's and on to Bude. Just walking into Week St Mary. There's the church in the distance there. Entering the village of Marham Church. Right, we're at the parish church of St Marina in Marham Church. From here I'm going to take a little hike down the lane there. It says Bude 1.5 miles. Let's see whether that gets me to the canal or not. Looks like a busy day on the Bude Canal. Further side of the Bude Canal, a bit choppy today I think, by the looks of it. Before the age of the train, this is a very useful industrial link to inland towns such as Holsworthy and Launceston. And quite often they shift sand off the beaches as fertiliser to use on the farms inland. North of Bude, steep climbs of the coast path test the legs and back muscles. It's tough going, undulating terrain now for the next 6 miles. Here lies the Atlantic Anvil. The modern age of Cornwall lies ahead at Stanbury Point. Still climbing steeply. It's hard work now. Here we go, another climb. And there we have a serpent. Just moving away from me, he is, look. Lovely little creature. What a wonderful sight. And there we have Reverend Hawker's hut. This is where the eccentric vicar used to come and write poetry and look out towards the sea for mariners in distress, try to cross that famous Atlantic anvil. We're now going on to try and find his church. That's the toughest part of the pilgrimage over, as it now reaches its conclusion. As you can see, stone church. So there we have it, Reverend Hawker's famous Morrinsdale church. Here it stands isolated in the attic of Cornwall. No different to what it would have been in his time a century ago. Very sedate part of the world. Say farewell to the north coast, some of the rugged, toughest terrain you can walk in the kingdom. Miles and miles of undulating terrain, some steep climbs there, and this is farewell to the pilgrimage. For those that want to find out more about the Cornwall pilgrimage, please log on to cornwallpilgrimage.org.uk. We also have a Just Giving page there to support the hospices whom we've dedicated the Cornwall pilgrimage to. Thank you very much for looking at this video.